Welcome back to the Paladins World Championship, everybody, as we move on to our second to last set of the Paladins competitive year. It's the losers finals, where we find, much to everybody's surprise, Parallax Gaming down here up against InControl. Aggro joined here on the desk by none other than Dave, Dolson, Joe Barrow, Olsen.
That's right, we're
Dave,
here.
Can you believe that Parallax is down here? Because I'm still a little shook by it.
I sure can't. Look, I expected a game, maybe two, to go over to Carnage Gaming. I didn't expect all three, well, 3 out of the 5, I suppose, is the math there, to go over to Carnage. You know, I'm going to preface this. Still got to get through this. I think InControl have a chance to bring it up against a now angry Parallax. I'm predicting a rematch there between Carnage and Parallax. It's going to be an uphill battle, though, for sure here for InControl.
I mean, it makes sense. This InControl team, despite looking good against Ignite, did get 3-0'd by Carnage in the quarterfinals. If Parallax and Carnage are very similar levels, which clearly they are at worst similar levels, then we'd expect a pretty similar 3-0 result here for Parallax. But I think the big thing is going to be how they bounce back after their first loss in all of Phase 2. Don't think they can really understate that.
No, I think this is the type of team to fuel that in a positive direction, fuel their kind of comeback in a good way. This does not seem like a team, though we don't know. We don't know how Parallax reacts after a loss. It's not like they got blown out. I don't know if that changes things one way or another. They probably just feel like, all right, guys, if we change up this or this, you know, we won 2 straight, probably should have won Game 3. We have a chance of winning that set. We probably should have won that set. If anything now, I'm more concerned if I'm InControl because I'm going up against a potentially angry Parallax, a team that knows they should be in the finals, and I think we'll see that reflected in their play.
Can't wait to see what we're going to get out of them as we take a look at the map bans. Parallax make sure we won't see Warder's Gate or Shattered Desert, exactly the same as their bans in the last set. Frog Isle and Ice Mines, interestingly enough, banned away by InControl, and thus we begin, as we usually do, on Stone Keep.
And Stone Keep, as we've said, every single time this gets brought up throughout this weekend, it opens you up to a variety of play styles, and that's important, I think, specifically when you look at this Brazilian region, because these are guys that like to play almost everything. Not that there's been kind of this decisive only play this meta over in NA or over in EU or anything like that. It just seems like Brazil has been a little bit more curious with a few of their picks and the way things tend to flow. Torvald really comes to mind here. Gonna get banned out. But this is a region where Torvald has been getting let through, where other regions have been perma-banning him. So that won't change here as far as the ban status goes of Torvald. But throughout this set, maybe we start to see Torvald composition get built up, something like that. And then Bomb King as well. Bomb King normally sweeps in kind of as a later pick later on down the draft. The fact that he's getting banned out here, I think, makes a Spexy feel pretty good because he can play this Bomb King so well, and I think that's a pretty big respect ban there for InControl to take it away.
But Ash is that first pick, and this has been such a good pick for Parallax so far today. You can see why they decided to go to it early. Andro Corvus is the option, and so much of what we've seen from Parallax recently has been a Spexy focused. Things like Eevee, things like Maeve, they're kind of both open here, Dave, and we could see that pretty easily, I think, here for Parallax as they decide to go to the IO as their healer of choice with Genos open, notably.
That's right. IO opens up the door for this aggressive playstyle. You want an Ashe on your team. You want to run forward. You don't necessarily want anyone to have to hang back while the rest of the fight is happening elsewhere. You want to invite everyone to the party. Getting the IO on your team is one way of doing so. Cassie especially, we've talked about individual picks here in Brazil. Cassie has been one of those. Brazilian favorite, absolutely. We've seen some good, some bad out of the Cassie here in this set. I expect it to look good, though, in the hands of Parallax Gaming. Whoever Parallax draft in their sort of rotation flank spot needs to be able to duel with this Androxus, because that's where this game is going to be made or broken. I don't know how to say that in the past tense form, but I think whoever gets picked here for Parallax is going to have to go up against this Androxus pretty consistently throughout this game, and Azin can do it. Azin has that opportunity.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Zin can do that just fine. You look at this Khan pick, though, on the other side. 86% pick rate, 8% win rate. I'm not missing a digit there either. It has been abysmal here today in Brazil. InControl going to try and change that here as both Xin and Maeve. Ash solo tank now up against a Lex and an Androxus on the other side.
Interesting.
This damage, the way that InControl's trying to put their damage out in this game feels a little inconsistent to me. Andro Lex as your only 2 damage dealers does not seem like the easiest composition to pull off.
And look, they're going for mobility to try to counter out mobility, and they're going to hope that they can kind of leave Inara back and just have her chill on the point while everyone else is trying to outflank one another. I mean, Xin, Maeve fighting with Androxus Lex is just going to be a lot of fun to watch. I agree on some of the inconsistent concerns because Xin, Andro, Maeve, Lex, there's also that Cassie that you have to factor in. Cassie potentially is going to have free reign here to pour out some decent damage. I like the way Parallax have drafted.
It's good. It should be pretty fun to watch. What does a Parallax Gaming team coming off a loss look like? Let's head to Stone Keep to find out.
We truly don't know. This team, until they met playoff InControl, was undefeated. Finjan Gormizer here as we move into Stone Keep. Could our 1 seed be eliminated? This is the set where we shall find out.
I imagine this is the team that you take a loss, and again, after an entire Phase 2, the last time these guys would have lost a set was during the summer finals. So I imagine in all of those, 6 months that they haven't lost a game, or at least a set, you kind of come back angry and just a little bit of fuel for the fire, right? Like, if you didn't think that you were going to struggle because you went undefeated before, now you are feeling yourselves and pushing forward. So I think this is the moment where Parallax Gaming have a fire lit like none other. But there's also a chance, I mean, there's the other side of it. Maybe you get the fuel, but maybe you're also kind of showcased like, yeah, we can fall apart. Maybe that's the beginning of the divide.
Well, Amadeus gets first blood here to say that the Inara had tier 2 bulldozer to start. It's not so uncommon, the bulldozer on the supports. They're there, they can take care of Luna, but tier 2 right from the start, a heavy investment to deal with the IO, but perhaps not paying dividends just yet. As Mittal pushing forward alongside his Ashe, looking to see if they can contest the Khan up close, and so far, Mittal has the damage, but not the kills. Now, he has Dentic helping out, but the Khan's Battle Shout keeps him alive, and all the while, InControl have built up 66% on the point. Largely uncontested. Parallax, despite being the team with the IO, are the team behind early, but Midtown gets a kill. It's immediately answered back as they lose Kronz. The Ashe has dropped, and InControl still seem to be able to comfortably fight. It's a struggle for Parallax right now to find a way to push out a keep.
It's all built around that Inara. I mean, you had highlighted the Bulldozer too. And look, Inara, as much as I like to say it, and it is true that the DPS, your damages, your flanks are going to do more damage than your tanks. Inara does a sneaky amount of damage, and with Bulldozer too, she has enough to deal with Luna consistently. That's the first time that she goes down. Ice Monkey eliminated from this one. And so now Parallax can finally use Luna to the full efficacy and get aggressive into InControl.
Oh, Spite used to make sure King Kaiser goes down. He has the guillotine, but I don't know if he needed all that for that one. Able to take care of a low HP Lex, but it cost him his life when he meets up with Amadeus. But the job has been done. Parallax have placed Luna down and are building up the percent. But in comes the Khan as Midtown finds a nice shot onto Amadeus there. Maybe listing a bit too much there in the air. So now InControl in the 4v5 needs a retake. Only 13% to work with, but Inara is here. There's Kronz doing a good job of keeping him out, and Kronz might have just secured them the mid by displacing the Inara. Dentic gets a double, and Parallax are into the offense.
I mean, kind of keeping them safe and alive, and all of that, being able to continue them moving forward. As long as Ice Monkey is alive, Luna will have struggles, troubles, all of it. But it seems like they are going to be solving that problem pretty consistently now, trying to take down Tuga, which so far has been met with little resistance, as well as getting rid of things like Amadeus and just making sure that the carries can't stop them from dealing with this Inara. Otherwise, Ice Monkey, I mean, it kind of has the duty of a frontline, which is stand out there. Hope you get the heals. Hope you can get to cover fast enough. I mean, Inara is not known for her mobility. She is not very fast. She is literally made of stone, and so it is not often that you see her getting out of there. That's why her survivability is so high outside of that, the ability to soak up healing. they can exploit that low mobility and just catch them off guard, Ice Monkey will not be able to stand up as consistently as they need.
This has been great progress from Parallax, though. Amadeus, I believe having a subpar ultimate there does not help. Outlander gets the last bit of damage onto Ice Monkey, and this cart continues to roll. Perhaps the Kana to drop down. The world where Inara is not here just yet, and where Ice Monkey still on the respawn to slow this down. Dentic moving in, though, finds the first kill. Spexy gets another. He has been using these spikes efficiently so far, and now Ice Monkey left on an island. He gets dropped as Spexy finds his second of the engagement. Not much Kaiser can do from this point. They're just throwing their bodies on the cart, but it ain't enough.
Shaky first, few minutes, I would say, and then it seems like they really solidified the level of play where they were coming into it. 5-0-6 for Mittal. Makes sense why he's Pro Player of the Year and got that award. Outlander 1-0-9 that are sitting there, 2 going undying. Spexy only has 1 death to his name, and even though Dintic, as much as I want to give him a little bit of trouble for the last set, comes through 4-3-7, even though you've got the most deaths right now tied with Kronz, you're still doing your job as a Mave, right? If Spexy and Mittal are able to get as much done as they are, you're not really that stressed about having 3 deaths under your name. Your job is consistency and getting to the back line, causing Kaiser and or Amadeus to kind of look towards you, put pressure onto Souza, and charge up Midnight as much as you can. Use it whenever you get the ability to, just to make sure that you have that again, capability of stripping away their vision.
Wow, they have 2 caught 3s already on Dintic and Spexy. Going to make the job of this Corvus that much harder. As Spexy appears to be... No, he's alongside Dintic here. So they send 2 church side, 3 to keep. And it looks like that split his work. Ice Monkey gets melted and into the back line. And they assert dominance, all coming out right on top of Kaiser, who can't afford to take it. Just like that, InControl have been pushed back all the way to their spawn. And Parallax have complete control of the mid.
I mean, this is something that we're used to seeing on maps like Frog Isle. On Bright Marsh, it's easy to get this aggressive. On Stone Keep, it is hard to get this chokehold and hold onto it. And you can actually see that now as Parallax start to fall back, but they've got 93%. They're not sweating it.
No, it's too little, too late. Parallax win their second mid of the game, and they're up 3-0. There was some talk with us casters behind the scene that you might see an angry Parallax in this set. And so far, Gore, I think that's what we're seeing. I don't know if you can step to the king and expect there to not be some retribution, but a Spexy is on the warpath. Has the whole squad with them. They're pushed up beyond the arch already. Thank God there's a pause, Gore. I can catch my breath. How did they win that mid so handily?
I mean, right now, yeah, it's unrelenting, and it just comes down to where their focus was. I mean, the first kill that happens in that mid that I noticed, it's right on the Ice Monkey. I think was 0-4 coming into this. They've been targeting this Inara very heavily and just kind of stripping out the pillar of support from underneath InControl so that they don't have that opportunity to get anything built up. They didn't have time to get rid of Luna. They didn't have time to set up the carries, and since then, it just feels like it's been a perpetual stagger. This is the first time I've seen just waiting in base, and honestly, even still taking a lot of poke in the process for InControl just to respawn and get out here. And Finch, I mean, they've got 2 minutes left to try and get a conversion onto this, but with the way the payload's moving in the zone they have, I don't know that they need all that time.
I'm not sure either, and I think they're going to be willing to spend some ultimates even, considering that this conversion would be the end of Stone Keep. Amadeus, though, has found himself a nice target. Not enough for the kill, so he must come back. But look at this Ash diving in! Assert dominance, though, gets cut off in midair, so that Ash will not be landing down. Kaiser kills Dintic as well, and finally InControl get a little bit of breathing room, some elbow room here as they slow down this Parallax push.
I see 5 ults up, though, for Parallax Gaming. Maybe a little bit longer. There it is, for the Zen to charge his. And honestly, this is one of those moments where use them. Yeah, it's under a minute soon enough by the time that you'll be able to. So you're not going to necessarily be able to charge every single one of them back up, but, I mean, you're up 3-0. The worst-case scenario is they take the next round if they defend here and then tie it up 3-3. You still have time to charge ults.
That might have been enough to seal the game there had that spike connected, but Midtown seems to not be deterred. Apparently they don't need the spike. Parallax get 2 kills, move the card in, and just like that, they're up 4-0. More than up 4-0, Stone Keep is over in favor of Parallax.
Yeah, if you needed a reminder of how sick that last set was and why Carnage Gaming and how impressive it was for them to get a win, this is why. Look what Parallax does to even at this point, what is technically the 3rd best team in Brazil, and depending on how this goes, they're either stuck there or on the rise, but InControl came into this as the 3rd seed, and unfortunately right now, Parallax want to remind them heavily that they're the 3rd seed.
Aggression, aggression, aggression. And unfortunately, no way for InControl to answer it. Let's get it back over to the desk, though, have them break it down.
Yeah, if you forgot what Parallax looked like whenever they were playing against teams not named Carnage, they look like that the vast majority of the time, Dave, and that's why they went 15-0 during Phase 2.
Important reminder.
They rout InControl in that one.
Yeah, not particularly close. Look, we expressed together some concerns about the consistency of some of the damage that InControl might be able to output. And it's one thing if you're looking at like even matchups in the flank positions and you know we're trading out 1-for-1 consistently, things like that. You know, then you're looking at the last couple of guys that are alive, who it might be, you know. Nothing. I mean, this is just one of those games. Sometimes it's hard to break down because really nothing went in InControl's favor. A fast 4-0 like this, I mean, look, you're at 3-0 6 minutes in this replay. The game would end about a minute later in 7 minutes. This is full-on draft rebuild mode, I think, for InControl Nation, and the stats would dictate that as well. No surprise that Dintic dies 4 times, and actually sort of his job. I mean, obviously you don't want to die at all, but when you're diving in, trading out kills, affecting the second most at 11 on the assist column, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen that way. And so I think this really just boils down to more consistent one-for-none trades for Parallax Gaming that just put InControl Nation on the back foot time and time and time again. I think it's just back to the drawing board when it comes to draft strategy for InControl.
I think that's the right way to put it, because whatever just happened on Stone Keep, let's not do that again.
Forget about it.
Let's find something a little bit different here for map number 2. And map number 2 will be Splitstone Quarry. So very, very important to get those EVs and those Maves out of Spexy's hands. I feel like he can just win it by himself.
You sure can, and we saw, again, a little bit of a glimpse of that there in Game 1. Definitely, I would argue maybe even more of an opportunity to do that here on Splitstone Quarry. Stone Keep definitely has those avenues and some of those routes that can put you into good position on the likes of the Eevee, on the likes of the Mave. Splitstone, you have a very clear directive and a way of going about that as far as diving the back line and how you want to go do that. Spexy's proven that he can take these games over, and Splitstone, definitely a map where I expect InControl to put some emphasis, whether it's in the ban column or in the draft phase for themselves, on those picks, because I think, you know, if there's 3 ways to deal with it. Either you're banning it out, you're picking it for yourself, or you're finding a way to have a counter pick of those picks on your team. So the avenues are there. The avenues are there. InControl just need to set themselves up well enough, however they best see fit. If we're not comfortable on the Eevee or the Mave, ban it out. They opt to not do that. So now they either need to pick it or have a way of dealing with it, should that be where Parallax go. We know Parallax is flexible enough to not have to go with the Eevee, not have to go with the Mave every time. But I think you're right in thinking that they might show themselves here in the draft phase.
It's worth noting that Parallax just lost to Carnage in Game 5 on Splitstone Quarry to a Makoa. So, not a bad start in that estimation here. They also lost to a Buck, and they decide that, hey, that was pretty good, maybe we should give that a shot and lock that in immediately on the back end.
Yep.
They get 2 flanks that can get anywhere they need to get on this map in Buck and Andro. They'll save the tanking and the frontlining and the supporting. That's for later. You know, if we just kill them well enough, they won't need anything else.
All right, so actually, look, we talked about the 3 ways that InControl, I know, Ramsey, we're all excited about this draft phase. The 3 ways that InControl can kind of deal with some of the high flank potential picks that Parallax Gaming are likely going to be opting towards. Makoa is definitely one of them with his hook. Yeah, stare down happens. Hey, I'm watching you. Asserting dominance. This is what real life assert dominance looks like. Apparently it doesn't work at all. She's asserting dominance on me.
Work.
One way of doing that is the Makoa. Let's get through this. And then the other way of doing that, look how nice and calm Mac is up there on the bed. When does that happen? When do I get there?
I don't know. It's because she's hungry, and she thinks that by begging, I'll go and feed her. And she's right. I'm going to go feed her as soon as we're done here. But she just They get sleepy eventually. That's all I can tell you. Eventually
just
they'll
not
run
right
all
now.
that energy out.
We're
No,
in the
not
witching
right now.
hour here. Let's see if chaos
course.
reigns as I pick her up. Ramsey,
yeah,
if you're going to let me talk about the way Makoa can counter out some flankers with the hook, Leon can do it with insta-burst damage. Moji throws me for a loop here, man, and I'm glad we had a bit of a distraction to buy ourselves some time because I would never have expected Emoji. I still don't expect Emoji. I mean, she was good on, like, Jag Falls because of the way that map is laid out. She'll control Lava Side or Bleachers, I suppose, but then she has to step away from Lava Side or Bleachers, and then she exists. She exists somewhere out in the open. There isn't immediate... Okay, a little bit more now. I was going to say immediate, like, super long range, like, burst damage to get down onto that Moji. This Willow, I think, is going to make life difficult. I do think these drafts are pretty close. I think InControl went weird enough to throw Parallax off.
Sure.
I mean, but it's Parallax. I think Parallax have the edge.
I'm just surprised their draft phase happened while I was staring at Ramsey this entire time. That's kind of crazy how the world just keeps on ticking as we go. The psycho puppy reigns supreme.
Oh my god, dude. My hands! Ow!
she's getting
shark,
angry. She's a little tiny shark. I absolutely love it. Will Parallax be the Ramsey biting on the Dave, or will they be the Dave getting bitten by the Ramsey? We'll find out here on Splitstone Quarry.
Thanks for the wonderful death segment there, Aggro and Dolson. Ramsey's excited, I'm excited, Goremizer is excited, Splitstone will be the map 2 battleground, and Moji will be one of the soldiers. Gore, what can you tell me about this InControl draft?
Alright, so I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would have lost so much money that Moji, A, would be picked, but B, would be picked on anything other than Jag Falls. I mean, this is not a pick that comes through. Let me, before I dive into InControl, tell you things you look for in a flank on a map like Splitstone. You want high mobility, you want some verticality, and you would like it if they've got some pretty good damage behind them. That's not too hard to find. Maeve, Eevee, Buck hit all of those notes. I mean, Willow, even though she's not a flank, does hit a lot of those notes. High mobility, verticality, has a lot of damage to her. Moji is an interesting pick, and again, can control Bleachers. I think that's what David said. Can control Lava Side, but eventually she's got to go beyond that, and I'm curious as to what happens when InControl leave there. They've got the Toot Cloud, though. That's going to be good for some healing on the side. She might be able to just run it down and make a difference.
Well, so far, Amadeus is making it work, though Kaiser does fall. Listen, I won't pretend that once Moji is close to you, she's not effective. It's just, you know, can she make that happen on Splitstone consistently?
Can you get there?
Right, we'll get our chance to see. So far, though, InControl have had everything they could have wanted in this mid, up to 84% already. The Inara is there contesting solo tank Inara. That's not been particularly successful in any region all weekend, Gore, so Parallax Gaming kind of going against the curve right now, but perhaps they can do it. 27% now for Parallax. They've got some control. Duga goes down, so does Kaiser. And the Buck ends up getting caught. Thought he might have made it out of there, but this is the numbers advantage for Parallax, as Amadeus can't quite make that ultimate hit home, at least not enough for the kill, and Parallax maintain control.
This should continue to be a great game for Amadeus. I mean, an Andro and a Buck, Leon kind of known as the anti-flank, and while she might not be as potent again as she was about a year ago, she is still incredibly strong in this matchup. And it's bet 96-96. I thought Aya would give so much more credit over towards InControl, but that Inara, even though it goes down here, did get her some percentage.
Someone's got to get in there now in a world where the Inara can't do it. Someone else has to help, so Dentek's trying to do it by killing everybody else. Mittag gets rid of Duga, and Dentek has caused quite a bit of damage. Reversal buys in some time. Good dash in from Leon, and Amadeus gets the better, but it's 99-99, and they're neutral on the point. Overtime is ticking, and it's got to be in favor of InControl with 2 kills coming their way. Or perhaps in favor of Parallax, but they've both dropped another overtime now ticking. Corvus has gotten 1 kill. They're dropping everything onto the point, and somehow Inara lives through it all, but now she's fallen. Willow picks up the mantle, and they're throwing bodies onto the point, but they can't get the kills. It's all coming up in favor of InControl, and Kaiser now thriving in the chaos. And InControl find the very first mid win.
Now is when competitive history can come up. King Kaiser, I had said this about him earlier today. But when I used to think of King Kaiser, we'd get to Brazil, I'd look at the rosters, just kind of freshen up, do some studying before we had a cast, and I'd see his name. And one champion came to mind, and literally only one for months, it felt like. And it was almost always this Moji. It was something that you had to ban against him. It was something that you had to worry about. He would pick it mainly, again, on Jag Falls, but would make it work on other maps. This might not be one where Moji is supposed to work, but when you are a player that is as adept at Moji as King Kaiser is, you find ways to make it happen. And so far, that's what he's been doing. It's a real door opener for him here, at least on the offense. Finally slows down, but I'm interested to see where the snack time goes. There's a solo tank in Nara. That's an easy execute. There's so many little plays that he can make that would really set InControl apart.
Well, I'd argue that Kaiser did work for them in that push, right? He had 3-4 people's attention over there near those mines, and now, though, they've been pushed back out, so I'm not sure how much it matters as Dintic looks to get the better of the Terminus. Though some good healing is changing the situation, but Aspexy moves in. Kronz gets himself a double. Aspexy finds another. This is all in service of the defense, of course. Parallax have pushed up way beyond the mid now and are trying to lock down InControl in their base. But I think you can see what this Moji's meant to do, right? In those narrow areas, in the buildings, in the mines. I mean, there's some opportunities for Kaiser to do some real work.
And again, it's just finding those areas. Right now, I think we're seeing the dichotomy that will be Moji in this. You could probably do some sort of PhD study on this, which is to say, if King Kaiser is able to get into those areas with, let's say, full health and his cooldowns available, he's going to frag out. It's going to be insane. But in any of these open areas or around the mid where he's not able to get up onto the high ground as easily, that's where it's going to suffer. And so if King Kaiser goes down in the first portions of an engagement, it's going to fall apart for InControl. But if he can get in there alongside someone like Amadeus, they're going to smack down Parallax for a little bit. It might not be consistent, it might not happen all the time, but it's going to happen enough this game that we'll get used to saying it.
And I think they're hopeful it'll happen just enough times, and that it would also catch Parallax a bit off guard, right? You have to play this game a bit differently. Someone like a Buck who normally runs that area, right, could potentially get caught off guard by Kaiser or something like that, so it does create some opportunities. But we're into overtime now. If InControl are going to convert this, it has to happen here. But are they willing to commit anything? Should they even commit anything this late and this far out? You'd think no. But we'll see what their approach is. They're very far back, but Nitao opens things up with the very first kill. Ice Monkey has already dropped. And in the 5v4, things look tough, but Nitao falls in trade. But now they've lost Amadeus. They've lost so much of their damage. Parallax get the defense, and we're back to the next mid.
Being able to keep things at kind of a standard. And you had called it here, you had said thriving in the chaos, and I can't think of anything that fits Moji better, right? I mean, you're just getting so much dragon spray out onto people. You're guaranteed to have some boosted damage shots that come through. That's what that burst number is every time you see the left head throw out some of that dragon spit. And going for, again, a pretty high sustained build. The Toot Cloud is already going to keep you alive as well as leave a little bit of a cloud behind for your teammates. And even though it's been nerfed, you are, with Symbiotic, getting some increased healing whenever you're low. And you are gaining lifesteal against enemies. Now, it's only with maximum marks, so this is where the barrier comes in. A mark will be applied to anyone who shoots you in your barrier, as well as while you would apply that Dragon Breath. So there's a lot of things that Greater Good can be great for you, and a lot of things that Greater Good won't make a difference because you're hitting somebody that doesn't have marks on them. So you have to be very careful on your engagements here. And I'm just excited to see King Kaiser play because I would argue he's one of the best Mojis we've gotten to see in a year.
He's already gotten more success out of it than I would have thought, and it improves further. He wins the duel against Dentic, waiting on him to be forced inside. And now he can help control the mid. Sees Inara pinned against the wall. It's feasting time.
Good.
And he doesn't even need the ultimate to get it done. Is indeed able to push right on in and mow her down, but still not enough damage. Kronz lives through it all. But through it all, InControl, we're able to rack up the mid percent. They're up to 66% now here, Gore. But they are having to fall back. Parallax have regained the mid a bit.
I mean, Inara stays alive through all that. Amadeus not able to have his big round so far. Haven't seen a lot of this Leon. And yeah, like you, it's just flabbergasting to see her survive throughout all of that. Accursed Arm. He's in an awkward position here. Parallax, I think that's actually going to end up helping InControl more than anything that InControl could have done in that moment.
Yeah, not great on that one, but I saw what he was going for. It just did not materialize the way he wanted. Kaiser has even removed Dentic as punishment, perhaps, for his crimes. And now they get a chance to lock down Kronz. These mids are going InControl's way, and Parallax seem a bit stumped here, don't they? I mean, I know they've had it 99 to 99, but They seem to be not quite able to walk through the door. Buck still somehow living inside those bleachers, but not enough to be able to get the kill. Now they need a Spexy to buy them all the time that he can with this Fae Flight. He has made enough space for this Inara to make it back to the point, and now they're the ones moving up. Reanimate, not going to be used, it would seem. No, he's back in the action, but dies right away as a result of Outlander's action. Dentik's able to find the other kill on the King Kaiser, and now it's Parallax with this control over mid, back to the 99-99, and Kronz is healthy in here and willing to battle more than battle. Once Tuga fell, that was enough for Parallax to get the mid gore. I thought InControl had that.
I mean, it just comes down to flank. Mitau, even though it hasn't been as, I want to say, spectacular. Like, looking at the spectacle that is Emoji is always going to be more fascinating, right? It's shiny, it's sparkly, it's up front, it's causing chaos, it's new pick. Because, I mean, seriously, when was the last time we saw Emoji? I'm racking my brain for it. She got nerfed so long ago that no one's played her since. And now we're getting to see it come through. But the Buck on the other side, it's bland, it's normal, it's Splitstone Quarry in a nutshell. The only other map I think that he does just as well on would be something like Timber Mill, which is in the reserve pool. And it is expected to do exactly what it's doing, which is pretty well. It goes down here to Amadeus, but I think that's what Mitau has, is consistency on his side versus what this Moji is bringing, which is, again, some flashy plays that sometimes are going to be the ones that make the day. Sometimes they're going to fall flat. As long as Mitau can keep his feet under him, or I guess can jump really, really high since he's playing Buck, he'll be fine.
I mean, you think about that duel he had as a Cursed Arm does not succeed. Amadeus punishes Dentik on the back of it, and that should stall Parallax out even a bit more. When you think about that duel that Kaiser had up against the Inara right here in this corner outside of these bleachers, and he couldn't win it, right? That's a scenario where I think just about anyone else wins that fight. I mean, I know it's Inara getting healed, it's tough, but unable to convert that one is pretty difficult in that spot, so just all these little small interactions that don't quite go InControl's way, and you start to wonder if they're going to hurt them as Kronz takes care of Tuga, and now they can start to come around this corner, start to push forward. The Inara is the one that's pushing up first with some backup from the Willow and the Andro. They're starting to get to this final corner and using the Andro to control these mines. InControl have got to slow them down here before they get past this final choke point, and a kill on a Mitau, not a bad way to do it.
I mean, it's a great way to start it off, as you had just said, but it's realistically maybe one of the small factors. I think this Willow might be somebody that you have to really stress out about because of the potency that she is giving Parallax Gaming. With everyone falling back, I'm trying to think of who can get a touch here. It would have to be Andro going in deep, but he's a little too low.
He is indeed a bit too low. Dentik ends up falling. Looks like the Inara will be right behind him. Yes, they do manage to get one kill on Amadeus, but all the other ones are lighting up InControl. So we're moving into yet another mid tied up here, Gore. Both mids have been 99-99, and so it's going to be a nail-biter all the way through.
I think it's going to continue to stay close, mainly because Souza on the other side is going to be in control of the midpoint. Unless Kronz comes in with a bulldozer and is able to deal with his Luna early, it's going to be something that is complicating everything for Parallax. And I want to give a little bit of trouble overall to what I think Dentik is doing, just because it's not a poor performance by any means, but I think that is the difference right now between the Parallax we're used to and the Parallax that is somehow surprisingly here in the lower bracket is where Dentik is in terms of what he's had. Because Spexy has so far been showing up an insane amount so far today and had a lot of stellar moments. But Dentik hasn't gotten to have as many of those flashing moments. I want this Andro to go big here. You're at 67%, charge that accursed arm, have it hit wide and hard, and kind of showcase why you're here for Parallax.
4 ultimates for InControl coming into this mid. Though I would say Parallax are pretty close to having 4, right? A lot of people in the upper 80s, and R and Buck both have theirs available already. But Dentik, again, being forced out. Parallax seem to have the control over the mid for now, but everyone alive on InControl and nearby, so tenuous, I'd say, at best. But they've got, in particular, this Terminus low, and that's making it hard for them to push out. Now they're up to 57%, and what I thought was tenuous is turning out to be solid. They're up to 70%. And InControl still haven't found a way to fight them. At least Kaiser is keeping the Andro pinned back, but Spexy, Kronz, and Mitau have struck for blood. The Terminus forced to use Reanimate onto the point. Down comes the Moji, and Mitau sniping with a shotgun seems to be working for now. but Parallax have given up on the mid, at least for a bit, and fallen back.
And it's perfectly fine. I mean, look at Terminus. Ice Monkey just used the reanimate and he's half health.
Whoa!
Snack time used against the Spexy, but he stays alive through all of that and they get King Kaiser. That's the kind of turnaround play you need to capture a point.
He didn't even really do much. He was just kind of sitting there, a snack, and no one was looking to eat, I guess. Overtime taken down in favor of Parallax. And InControl struggling to find their way back into this mid. The clock ticks down, and Parallax move up to 3-2. But the offenses have struggled so far, Gore. I don't know if they'll be able to find a conversion here.
It's just so difficult. I mean, you're going to go up against Terminus, Makoa, Io, if they're not able to pay attention to that payload, is going to do her job stopping it forward. And Amadeus, again, maybe not a flashy streak right now, but has had a pretty stellar game on this Leon to just deal with Parallax Gaming in general. As long as Amadeus has high ground control, your life just gets intensely harder, which is where Dintic comes in, Midtow come in. If they can get to the back line, deal with that Leon consistently the way that Kronz does right there, then it's not going to be too difficult for him to keep this payload going.
Yeah, especially after a couple of kills. King Kaiser has fallen thanks to Kronz, and Amadeus has just now resurfaced. But Kronz was pushed all the way up to the point itself in an attempt to create space to get this cart moving in. Though up top goes the Terminus to contest, and the Willow, struggling in close quarters, falls to the combo of Ice Monkey and Kaiser. A little bit too easy for him in those mines. Kaiser gets another as Midtow falls as well. Exactly as I meant earlier, space normally dominated by the Buck can occasionally be won by this Moji.
I love the way... I just love seeing this. It's not something we get to see often. I like the fact that InControl... Again, you are technically 2 games away from getting knocked out here if this Moji doesn't work out. And yet you're still willing to go for it. I think that shows a lot of trust into King Kaiser. It also showcases what he has done so far this year in Brazil for Paladins. Again, a name that kind of showed up and skyrocketed here. And this could be a portion where he makes a big difference. I think I just heard a snack time come through. But not only that, this is where it gets close range. This is where it's going to be opportunity and chaos. Jump in there and fight.
It was Outlander, I believe, that was the snack. And he was gobbled up. Dintic gets rid of Amadeus. Perhaps they can make this push work after all. They're playing it patiently for now. They might only get one more real crack at this, considering how low it is. Luna has been dealt with as Spexy gets rid of Tuga, and Kronz looking to loop around. That split focus was enough for Midtow to get rid of Kaiser, and the cart still being stalled. Up top, there's trouble from Ice Monkey as Midtow drops elsewhere, but now he's been put down. And there is no reanimate to help, so the cart moves slower and slower further forward. But in comes the Makoa to slow down the push. A wall has been put up to buy the team a little bit of time. As into the backline goes the divers of Parallax, but will the kills materialize when they need them desperately? No, Kaiser has risen to the occasion and gotten a Spexy. Kaiser sets up for the kill onto Dintic as well. Yes, Midtow gets Tuga, but too many have fallen. And Gore, you asked, when was the last time we saw Emoji? When was the last time we saw Emoji in an elimination game? And it's absolutely showing up.
Doing a lot. 16, 13, 12. Kills a lot, dies a lot, assists a lot. Is getting everything done for the team. 18, 9, and 12 as well. You can see the carries on the side of InControl definitely making their impact and presence felt. But these mid fights have not been going their way. Despite a draft that I think controls mids a little bit better, they have been falling apart there. And it's just because of whether or not King Kaiser can show up. And if Amadeus can show up during those moments. And Finch, this is where I have to be the bearer, not even bearer of bad news, but the, I guess, premonition that could be negative for an InControl Nation, which is, this is their map pick. This is a map that typically can go 3-3. It's known for length, even though we don't always see it go all the way. 4-2s, 4-1s, they're not uncommon here, and going to 4-3s is pretty much in the same vein. If InControl don't get this, Parallax has such an advantage going into the next one, even with map choice going to InControl, that it's a dangerous game to be playing. You're really risking a lot here.
Wow, Seismic Crash expended, and in the end, Midtow does get the kill onto Kaiser, but some more ultimates are on the way. Faithlight not that far behind, though they do have to deal with the Reanimate and the Begone on the other side. Even Enlightenment not that far, as Parallax has some control, but InControl have the most percent. They're up to 42, but Parallax are in hot pursuit. Now Ice Monkey's here, and contesting the mid, so a Spexy contests from bleachers. I doubt that's where he meant that to go, but can still look to challenge as he goes up with the Faith Light, but he comes towards Lava Wall to help with this fight instead. They're hiding under cover, but a Spexy is a man on a mission. He locks down Kaiser. Midtow wins the duel with Duga, and that means Parallax now have uncontested control of the mid. Sure, Ice Monkey gets one kill, but as soon as his life is claimed, he'll be forced into the reanimate, and he'll die right after. Amadeus gets rid of Midtown, but they have pushed all the way in. Amadeus is down, it's a double, and Parallax are continuing to rack up percent.
Oh, Ice Monkey goes for the reanimate. That might not work out the way you want it to. Stays full health, so at least it's going to dodge that respawn timer, but it's 96% right now, Finge, in favor of Parallax Gaming.
And Spexy's doing so much work for Parallax Gaming right now, and Dentic showing up in the final hour where they really need him. Midtow gets rid of Souza. King Kaiser cannot make the Moji work in close quarters. Yes, they lose Midtow elsewhere, but they have so many members here and healthy. Right now, Tuga doing his best to keep this game going, but I think they might have run out of time. On his way is Ice Monkey, but the seismic crash is not in time. He gets the touch, so overtime is renewed. Luna's there as well, but it's all ticking down, and Parallax Gaming take a commanding 2-0 lead.
So whether or not this ends up being a 3-0 for a set, or if right now InControl buckle down and they reverse sweep, that was an awesome Split Stone Quarry match. I don't get to say that often. A lot of the times we come here, and it does feel sometimes like you're trudging through, right? You're waiting for one of these teams to pop off. Just action all the time. I think that Moji pick, even though it might not be the best flank on the map, does end up looking pretty good. The Leon was played beautifully by Amadeus. It just wasn't consistent enough on their end, unfortunately, to find the win there. Versus what comes through, the tried and true on the side of Parallax, is what saves the day.
Yeah, I think it's no consolation to Amadeus, but that was a monster performance from him, right? It just was not enough for them to get the dub. Very close here on Splitstone, but now Parallax in a dominant position, so we'll get it back to the desk to see how they think this set's going to go from here.
That was really, really close. A lengthy one on Splitstone Quarry, but ultimately, Parallax Gaming continue their win streak and win their second game in a row. But Dave, how do you come away with that feeling great about yourself if you're Parallax? I mean, we saw Moji here for InControl. Obviously, they're trying as hard as they possibly can and picking everything they think is good.
Right.
But I'm sure when that got locked in, Parallax kind of gave themselves a look around like, what is going on here, fellas?
Sure.
They almost lost to that Moji.
They did. I mean, it was kind of, it slips my mind in drafts because I'm getting my hand eaten by my fur child back there. But, you know, this InControl team, they've made this Moji work in the past. King Kaiser really specifically hasn't happened in recent weeks as it's found its way out of the meta. But if there's any team that will and potentially can play the Moji, it's InControl. So not wildly surprising when you kind of put it in that context, but I agree. For Parallax, this is sort of, all right, we struggled against Carnage, who has given us some trouble previously in this phase. We should just quickly 3-0 InControl and move on. And InControl have always been stubborn. My storyline with these guys throughout the phase has been that they've just been just shy of really putting it all together. They have such good synergy with one another. They're playing together last year in the one of the Paladins league. So these guys know each other very well. Amadeus decimates this game, 20-11. So if anything, I think you're onto something where Parallax are probably feeling a little bit shaky, and suddenly InControl are probably realizing, all right, guys, we can maybe do this. Now you have to look at the 3-game mountain they have to climb, but you have to take it one game at a time, as I've been saying throughout this weekend. But I think Parallax is really a mentally fortuitous team. They won't let a close 7-point game really hang on them as close as it was. I think Gore hit it pretty well. The tried and true draft just sort of won the day here. Parallax Gaming, they need to be sure, though, that they kind of tie everything up nicely, because this InControl team is capable of bringing you to the limit.
What a fun game to watch, man. How often do you get to see an Inara do 100k damage, by the way? That's pretty absurd. To Jaguar Falls, we go. And this should be an interesting one. This series has really been defined by flanks at some points. I mean, you look at what we saw Amadeus be able to do there. It's so impressive because it has been so flank heavy. Now we go to Jaguar Falls, where flanks usually reign supreme.
Right. This is a Parallax kind of vibe being put out into the universe here. I think this is the map where, again, barring InControl really bringing it like they did on Splitstone Quarry. This is, even before seeing the draft, I don't know, maybe that makes me a bad analyst. You're kind of feeling like this is the map where Parallax is going to bring things home, because it very much caters into their play style and the way they like to play. Interesting from InControl that they consider the Willow to be maybe the second highest threat, rather, to themselves here, where Parallax could have picked that. Absolutely a strong pick here on Jaguar Falls, but there's still so much. I've already said it once, it's kind of pointless to try to ban out a Spexy. You take away what you think is going to be the worst to play against, and then just hope that you have a game plan built around the next 5 or 6 picks that this guy can bring to the table. I like the way they start, though. Ash fantastic on this map and assert dominance up, down, quickly inside these close corridors, great at closing gaps in some of those long sight lines. InControl, they just need to give themselves a chance out of the draft. And at least through one pick, they've done that.
Well, Zin and Genos are the first 2 picks here by Parallax, and if you're going to be picking a lot of flanks, giving them all a damage amp seems pretty good to me, especially with Zin, who, for me, it's between Zin and Maeve, who have been the most impressive flanks by a pretty considerable margin, though Buck on Splitstone is starting to put his name in that ring, as Fernando is then the pick. This has been a Parallax Gaming staple in a lot of their compositions. This Fernando now taken away on the other side by InControl.
It's interesting, kind of 2 different mindsets through the first few picks here. InControl very concerned about how their front line is going to perform and keeping them alive. Fernando and Ash have 2 pieces of utility in their ultimates that will keep, at least in Ash's case, herself alive, and then Fernando, the rest of his team, alive. But you still give away the Rom. I think Rom is great on this map. The ability, specifically with his ultimate in some of those close quarters, to make a big difference. And then obviously the gap closing nature is very strong as well. I mean, Zin, Genos, Cassie, Rom, I mean, that's about as standard as it gets, and Parallax Gaming can make standard work. Moji Hover aggro doesn't necessarily scare me as much here on Jaguar Falls. It was eyebrow raising on Splitstone Quarry. Jaguar Falls, said it twice, I'll say it a third time. Close quarters, the ability to spread out that damage, hit those detonates from a closer range, just more consistent on Jag Falls. Don't hate it at all.
I like it quite a bit. If you're going to commit to playing Moji on Splitstone, you would best be ready to commit to playing it on Jag Falls. That's the way I feel about it, and they do just that. Tiberius as well, only 1 game all weekend, if my memory serves properly. It was earlier today on Ice Mines, where Mitau made it look really good. Going to have to try and keep that 100% win rate here up against what we expect to be one of the strongest teams here in Brazil. Xandroxis rounds out the draft here for Parallax. Kind of crazy they got Rom that deep in the draft. Can't imagine that you're feeling very good about InControl's odds just based on the way Parallax has been playing so far.
Yeah, I'm looking at what's going to slow down this Rom, and it's got to be Burn on his way to you, because other than that, this Rom, I think, just rumbles through this game. It's the creativity aspect of InControl. If the creative kind of sidewindy type picks here that they're bringing, Moji and Tiberius at the end of their draft, can throw off Parallax from kind of their tried and true triple DPS standard that they've set, that's what's going to give InControl the edge, because you need something else to take down Parallax.
Parallax just 1 game away from going on their revenge tour up against Carnage in the finals. Can InControl stay alive here on Jaguar Falls?
That is the fundamental question, and they choose to stay alive. With Moji on Jag Falls, not so odd. But, Gory, is this the best map to pull out Tiberius in an elimination map?
I mean, this is not typically the one you see Tiberius on. It is still good for him for similar reasons as to why it is good on Ice Mines. Very, very tight corridors, and therefore a lot of places that you can get some fancy ricochets that come through, but he's actually running Tigron's Fury here, so that explosive blade that comes through, whenever you see him throw his sword, it'll be planted, and then he can snap, and it'll detonate in an explosion. So it gives him a little bit of burst ability, as well as a little bit of control that can come through. It's definitely an interesting one, but Amadeus just had a good Leon game. I'm going to go ahead and wager on a decent Tiberius game following up. I'm just going to say, though, Parallax Gaming, with this draft, I mean, that's just Jagfall's crusher right there. It is going to be difficult to overcome the power that Parallax have, no matter what.
You've got a strong draft, and Spexy trying to put it to work, avoids the shoulder bash, and now has the 1v1 he wants up against Toga. But Kaiser has taken care of Dentic elsewhere already. Things seem to be a bit easier for the Emoji now that she's back on her home turf, so to speak, the map where she's strongest. InControl have already moved up to 48%, though Spexy moving in has forced InControl off the point. Kront and Mittal both have some picks, though Kaiser got a return kill, but that is the end of his reign as Spexy cuts him down. This Xin has been a man possessed, already has spite, and already cuts down the Ashe. So Spexy feeling it here on Jag Falls.
I mean, just right around the corner, able to hit that one onto the Ashe. Good play from him to make sure that the pressure keeps going. And staggered out the tanks there with those kills makes it much more difficult for anyone on InControl to try and get back in time. You will have Emoji who can run in barrier and get an overtime touch, but Rom is just going to barrel to the back line and make sure things are tough for anyone on InControl.
Gets the job done, doesn't he, as Krons pulls a minigun out of the Hellfire from the Afterlife and then puts it to work. Kaiser and Amadeus both trying to get in for a touch have fallen, and now Krons trying to lock down the Fernando as well. These knockups are big, and they can already start to move the cart here. It can be a bit tough sometimes on Jag Falls if you don't win the mid cleanly, Gore, to get this cart moving like this, but look where Dentic is. He's keeping them locked down inside the actual point room and making things easy for his squad.
You know, the way you just described Rom made me realize that, I mean, what the Pyre has what, Furia? Like, I don't think there's anyone else that directly pulls from the Abyss's opposition, but there's so many cool Abyss champions out there, and Krons showing off what you can do in the right hands. The knock-up just so controlling for the team, and now he's looking to lock him inside the base. His ult is ready, the payload's coming around that last corner. This is looking like a good conversion.
You know, I was going to say he's demounting them, but I mean, the fight's happening here, right? So he's just raining in the damage, big damage onto Ice Monkey, who can barely hope to stay standing. Parallax, get the conversion as quick as you like, and InControl have got to right the ship before it sinks.
I mean, King Kaiser comes through, gets that first blood, gets 2 more kills throughout all of that, but 4 deaths. Nobody else on InControl is able to pick up any kills. In fact, only 2 of them got assists, and they didn't get that many. So on InControl, you need an entire change-up coming into this one. You do not have the credits I can see to really afford some of the items that you would want to. No way to get that Chronos 2 for Souza. Barely able to get some of the budget build that Ice Monkey has. They're dancing around the cat on Parallax because I think they know where they're going. Their plans are for the finals because they're 2 points away. And again, this is the draft to do it. Streaks burning, ults up, they're ready to go in. The only one lacking anything right now is Dentic, and I'm sure that Desandra is still going to have something to say.
So does Krons. He looks for the knockups right away, and Amadeus never gets to play Paladins, my man, because Krons is on a rampage. He wants to get back to finals, and point-blank Cataclysm locks down Kaiser. Spexy gets 2, but Krons is setting it all up. Now he's running and gunning. Spexy gets a 3rd, and Parallax are unrelenting. They want their revenge, and InControl will not stand in their way.
I mean, they're just getting so aggressive. And look, they use 4 ults, yeah, but now they have the Accursed Arma. Let's say you get to this point, good luck staying alive. The burst damage looking to come through once that barrier comes down. And this is all-out aggression and onslaught that is coming through from Parallax. But there's still the opportunity right here for InControl. Fernando's not going to live long, but that Immortal gets the touch.
And he needed it, didn't he? No way he was going to live without it, but the second it drops, he drops now. Let's see what he can do to lock down the Ashe as well. Reversal to stay alive, and he gets the punch up close. The Spexy has his back, 96-99, that's the cap. And now InControl, if they want to stay alive, have to defend. They must prevent the conversion, but so far Parallax have done whatever they like. Starting with this ROM and trickling down, I don't see how they stop them.
I mean, the last push, it just felt like a blink and you miss it kind of opportunity for them. All-out aggression from Parallax once again, and it's going to be a slaughter, a stagger at that because of the fact that nobody else is there. And Kaiser's going to be out of here. His team at a 4v5. They're going to be able to find more after that Finch, and this is where things go downhill. I see 1 ult charge. Spite just used the ult up for the ROM. This is where things start to change, and in favor of Parallax, I don't know if you're in a good position anymore for InControl.
Wow, calculated for Kronz. He dashed in at 1,000 HP, left with 94. 93 more than he needed. Aspexy takes care of Kaiser. And right now, everything is clicking for Parallax. In come the tanks, though. The Ashe and the Nando are here to slow down the onslaught. They get the kill into Aspexy, and now Dintic. So, okay, InControl showing some signs of life. Standing up now and pushing Parallax out of their base. But really, how long can they keep it up in Midtown? I mean, this is not a huge ultimate, but dropping it here on his own. A little bit surprised that the card continues to roll. But there's the snack time. Maybe he can get this kill on the Kronz, but they're just trying to stall him out as he continues to stand. But now they've lost Outlander. That might slow him down for good.
I mean, that execute is so crucial to land when you hit that. Just the snack time, the polymorph, that's good, but it's not as good as being able to delete the ROM. That's why I want to see, as difficult as it is, the rise of Drogo. Someone, and Moji, that can kill off this ROM with one hit. One ult, granted, but at least saves you in moments like that. Ultimately getting rid of the support, as you saw and said, is going to be able to slow this down. But with 30 seconds left, Parallax are not out of the question for getting back. A Cursed Arm could open up the door to get in there, or seal the deal on the kills. And the rest of them, I mean, I see a 70% and a 50% ult that can change and win this game for Parallax if they get it here.
A Cursed Arm will be the call to start this fight off. Mostly gets damage back to the Tiberius, but not much else. Midtown has dropped, so things are starting to look good for InControl. If they can find maybe one or two more picks, then they have put this push to bed. But Dentic is the one getting kills. Kaiser has fallen, but they're going to need a few more if they want to realistically turn this into a push. Aspexy gets the second. What is this? Aspexy is on the warpath as Ice Monkey falls as well. Suddenly, it looks like this overtime might be a conversion. Aspexy is a man possessed. He continues to cut down the foes to open up the path. And Parallax Gaming keep this fight going. They move right back into the finals.
I mean, look, there's a reason this team was undefeated through all of Phase 2. The reason this team only took their first loss to a Brazilian team, I believe, maybe not this year, but since Phase 1, just today. And it's just going to continue going. I think it's great, honestly, to see on the other side InControl go out on a note that feels like their team. They're playing champions that are them. They're playing it well. And even though it's a 4-0, they're giving a good fight to Parallax. Parallax just happen to be one of the best teams in Brazil, and it's always going to come out that way. They were undefeated again for a reason, and I think we got to see that here.
Man, it's starting to look like you could roll a 5-sided die, and that's how you could pick the Paladins Player of the Year. Anybody on Parallax is a viable candidate, huh? Because these guys are absolutely nuts. We'll have our rematch right after the desk breaks it down.
Thank you, Finch and Gore, for running us through an impressive performance from Parallax. That map 2 on Splitstone, I don't know, Dave. Maybe Splitstone should be the ban for this team moving forward. They lose on it against Carnage. They get pushed to the distance here by InControl, and then we go back to Jaguar Falls, and Parallax is like, oh yeah, we're just better. What if we just be better? And they were better on Jag Falls.
They were much, much better on Jaguar Falls. That was the concern, right? I thought it was wild that InControl took us to Jaguar Falls here this late on. Because you just know that Parallax is going to do what they want on a map like this. And it was nothing short of exactly what Parallax wanted. Honestly, you know, it's so weird. And then this is kind of getting into, like, the mental of players. You know, I've never played at really anything at that high of a competitive level. But, like, I'm Carnage now. I just beat Parallax. So obviously I'm feeling some level of confidence, but then I just watched Parallax decimate InControl. Aspexy goes 14-2. There's got to be like some level of concern up there, I imagine, if you're Carnage Gaming. You've got the one game in hand, so maybe Carnage's rooting factor right now mentally is we only have to win 2 instead of the 3 again this time against Parallax, since they have that one game in hand being in the upper side of the bracket. But that's going to be a blast to watch, especially now that Parallax Gaming have gotten their feet back under them here on Jaguar Falls. I mean, this is one you expected Parallax to win. It was how convincingly would they win. And Game 3 here gave us the answer. I mean, this is a full firing on all cylinders squad that's going to bring a fight to Carnage for sure.
cannot wait for these grand finals, man. They are going to be so much fun to watch. The semifinals were incredible, and I'm sure the grand finals are going to do just the same for us. Parallax Gaming move on to the grand finals. Congratulations to InControl for a solid season, finishing third here in Brazil. But let's be honest, Dave. Viewers didn't come to see who was winning the bronze medal. Let's see who brings home the gold right on the other side of this break.